All right, ready when you are. Oh, where's Joy? 1, 2, 3, and there's Joy.
Okay, good evening. I'd like to call to order this regular meeting of the Encinitas City Council for Wednesday, February 21st, 2024 at 6 p.m. And if the clerk would please call the roll.
Absolutely. Councilmember Lyons.
Here.
Councilmember Ehlers.
Here.
Councilmember Hinsey.
Here.
Deputy Mayor Blackwell.
Here.
Mayor Kranz.
Here.
Record will show that all members of the City Council are present.
Okay, thank you. And if you'd all please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, thank you. And next we will go to, there are no special presentations or proclamations, so we're on to item 5, oral communications.
We have no oral communications.
What? You've let me down.
There's not.
Scott, yeah, Scott, what's
Oh,
up?
he's got something else.
Nothing. Okay,
We have a proclamation that there were no,
yeah,
something else.
yes. Yep. So we're on to item number 6, report from closed session. When City Attorney, please give us that.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The City Council met in closed session at the special closed session approximately 3:30 this afternoon and adjourned from closed session at approximately 4:35. While in closed session, the City Council discussed one item, and that was initiation of litigation, one case, Government Code 54956.9D4, and the name of the case is City of Grants Pass Petitioner versus Johnson et al., Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals. This is a case that's on certiorari to the United States Supreme Court. The City Council voted on a 4-1 vote, Councilmember Hinsey voting no, to join the Cal State Sheriff Association writ of certiorari to the United States Supreme Court in opposition to the Grants Pass decision to seek overturning or further guidance from the Supreme Court on the Grants Pass decision. And that concludes the closed session report.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, are there any changes to the agenda?
There are no changes to the posted agenda. And then moving to the consent calendar, item 8H has been pulled by a member of the public.
Okay, 8H, so that means we got 8A through 8G, still on consent.
I'll go ahead and move approval of the balance. And I'd just like to note that in doing so, we're moving forward and expanding our school crossing guard program, which I'm really enthusiastic about.
Yep.
And I'll second. Oh, unless.
No, go ahead.
Okay.
Motion carries unanimously. That takes us to item 8H. And we have two speakers, Jennifer Hewitson and Scott Campbell.
Okay, item 8H, staff report. You want a staff report first, or? Don't go far because it'll probably be brief.
Good evening, Mayor Kranz, council members, members of the public. My name is Bader Solomon, engineer with CIP Division. The item before you is a ratification of the emergency installation of a 48-inch temporary bypass storm drain line through the Lake Drive Canyon under the emergency declaration dated February 13th. The emergency declaration comes as a result of flooding and property damage in the Cardiff Cove community near Manchester Avenue. And we have some slides here to build context for the emergency project as well. So the Lake Drive Canyon emergency project consists of a storm drain system with an upstream reach in the Lake Drive Canyon, which sits between I-5 and Lake Drive, and a downstream reach by the Cardiff Cove community. In the recent storm events, we've seen significant flooding and property damage by the Cardiff Cove community, which we've identified as being caused by the failed pipe that lies in the canyon. This failed corrugated metal pipe is transporting sediment downstream, causing pipe blockages and flooding onto Manchester Avenue. Here's a quick look of the pipeline conditions prior to the emergency declaration. As you can see here, we have the existing 48-inch CMP or corrugated metal pipe dislodged in many locations, and this is approximately where that sediment is entering the system and flowing downstream. The resultant effect on Manchester Avenue, as you can see, the sediment depositing on the road, posing a threat to life and safety, as well as the maintenance at the Manchester outfall to clean the sediment from the outfall. Quick look of the maintenance and repair costs since 2020. There was an effort in 2020 by our wastewater division for about 6 weeks cleaning that pipeline, which costed about $200,000. From 21 to 22, we had routine cleanup of about $2,000 per rain event. And then since March 2023 to the present day, we've spent about $2 million on sediment removal by the outfall. In an effort to mitigate this issue, the city does have a permanent repair going through design and permitting. We are currently in the running for 2 grants to fully fund this in construction, which we estimate to cost about $6.5 million. But with the major impacts happening to the community downstream, engineering did mobilize an emergency contractor to implement an interim repair before this week's rain event. And that started on Monday, February 13th and completed on Monday, February 19th, which was an emergency installation of a 48-inch corrugated plastic pipe through the canyon, essentially conveying stormwater more efficiently without transporting the sediment downstream, with a total estimated cost of about $850,000. So with that, staff is happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We go to the public speakers now. Jennifer?
Jennifer Hewitson, followed by Scott Campbell.
Can we crank up the volume a little bit there? Yep.
Hello. Oh, there we go. I actually have slides tonight, which I may not have needed because the presentation was better than I thought it would be. And I'm sorry, I had to pull this item because while watching this ever-evolving failure, I'm reminded of what my parents and grandparents used to say: an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure, and a stitch in time saves 9. This now emergency in the Lake Drive Canyon need not have been. It has snowballed over the past 4 years, and most citizens know nothing about it. The agenda report that I read mentions fiscal stewardship, emergency, temporary above-ground 48-inch pipes, this initial cost of $752,480, and then this couple million cleaning a concrete pipe that's further down. Money coming from the general fund, et cetera. The background it had gaping holes in it, what I read. So I thought, even though I'm grateful that something is finally being done, I have questions about the timing, the costs, and the permanent solution, which it looks like is going to be concrete pipes eventually. So this is a view of the beautiful canyon looking west. And that's the old culvert that was there from the 80s, from I guess 1982, which all the pipes carried water underground, and it functioned fine, it seemed to, since 1982. This is June 2021, which it turns out is, the city already knew about this in 2020 as far as the agenda said. So this is the pipe breakage, collapse, erosion, start of the sinkholes. I'm not an engineer or a hydrologist or a soils expert, but when I saw that, I thought it looked like a pretty urgent problem. Why wasn't it repaired at that stage? The city was aware of it, and I spoke to an engineer in 2021 who said the county has lots of pipes like this that are problematic, and the city had lots of other repairs to worry about. A stitch in time. Fast forward through, you already saw some of these, but these, to me, was really disturbing, and it's not too far from Lake Drive. So there, fast forward to March 3rd, the Lake Drive collapse. Now that is an emergency. The water didn't stop, the erosion and collapse moved east. Now it's an emergency, and why? Who chose not to repair the pipeline previously? Oh, I'm out of time. Well, the biggest slip and slide ever. Repair, huge repair engineering. And that was the end, and that was my concern. There's no pipe. That's just, the water goes into that riprap in that basin that's fabric lined, and then it blasts through the canyon, and it all continued to erode. And there's a waterfall, by the way. Do you see that? Waterfall.
Yes.
Raging water.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for your time. Appreciate it. I was going slower than I thought I would. Do you turn them off or?
Okay, good evening, council and senior staff, Captain Lawrence and your staff, and all the wonderful applicants tonight. I'm glad that's citizen participation. I'm glad you're warmed up because you were talking about money an hour ago, and we're going to talk about more money. You can just watch this. Today, just before I was reading about the CAFR report from fiscal year 23, talking about property tax levies, principal property taxpayers, total general fund balances, changes in net position, fiduciary, a bunch of stuff, and it's not looking good. And this has been going on for 10 years, data going back to 2014. So here's a summary of what we spent in 1 year on this one storm drain. $2.6 million. As of tonight, we're spending another $752,000 under the bid. We'll see if it comes through there. To double down on what Jennifer said, here's a picture of it. We fixed just that little blue area, but this whole yellow area is what we're fixing now. I have heard reports from probably 10 years ago of kids riding BMX bikes and saying they had to avoid huge holes in the ground. This has been going on for decades. Once again, who's been here for decades or half a decade? Now, it's about money. It's really all about money. We're spending a lot of money tonight, $752,000. That's why this budget item got pulled. Do you think you're going to do consent items on $752,000? It was a year ago I came up here and we're allocating $1 million. So here's some charts showing how we've allocated money for stormwater out of the general fund over the last, since going way back, going before anybody's time here. This has not changed. Note how total revenues to the city has changed. I'm sorry, Kelly, I know these numbers are killing you. I get it. But this is reality, fiscal reality. We can't keep with the social programs and all the funding. If I had time, I would show how much money we've spent on other things. It's terrible. How many houses were damaged in Leucadia last month? Over a dozen in businesses. How many houses were damaged in Cardiff this week? What's the expense? And what do these people sue the city? We gotta get our act together and spend it on the right things. We can't keep deferring maintenance. The water is coming up. This is gonna be relentless. The sanitation is gonna be relentless. And once again, thank you for all the commission applicants. I really commend you for being here tonight. Thank you.
Thank you.
That concludes speakers.
I see no request to speak. Councilmember Ehlers just rang in.
Oh, sorry. I had the wrong thing on.
Councilmember Ehlers?
My name disappeared there. So I really appreciate this getting pulled. I was going to pull it too. One of the things that I wanted to note is staff, I believe engineering went through previously and showed that from an aerial history that the real erosion, the significant erosion occurred about 4 to 5 years ago, but not before. I think we had, I want to say 2018, 19, was it? That it looked like there was an erosion occurring. I don't know if staff could comment on that.
Yeah, back to 2020, it appeared to be in good shape in the canyon.
Yeah, so it really hasn't been that long, and I think the council up here has been concerned about it. Mayor Krantz and I even hiked all the way down through the canyon, and it was amazing. I mean, I actually walked by him, didn't see him. He was so far down in a hole, and that there were. I explained to people there's truckloads of sediment that was missing. It was last summer, I think we went, or last summer, and so it was amazing. We knew this was a problem. I support it. This was an emergency declaration, which the code lets the city manager go forward with, and I think it was the right thing to do. And I asked for the total of how much we'd spent remediating this prior in the last few years since 2020, and it's in the millions. And we're spending $850,000 to avoid spending more millions next year and the year after. So I thought it was a good emergency. It was a good way to move forward, and I support it. And then the other thing is there's a chance that that some of this will be repaid through a FEMA, correct? I don't know if staff could comment on FEMA reimbursement of this type of event.
So the work at the top of the at Lake Drive that we completed last year, that is eligible for FEMA reimbursement. We're expecting in the neighborhood of $2 million potentially that would be eligible for reimbursement. And then we're seeking grants for the remainder of the canyon. We weren't successful in a FEMA grant for the remainder of the canyon, but we're still in the running for a NOAA grant that we should find out about this spring to fund the remainder of the canyon.
And so I guess, and I appreciate everything, so I'm supporting approving this. And I would just ask for staff, and you don't have to respond tonight because it's not on the agenda, but I would want to ask, are there similar type of emergency or FEMA reimbursement, given that the feds just declared San Diego County a flood disaster area? Would we be able to apply for funds and use them elsewhere, like Leucadia in particular? But I know we can't, and I'm not looking for a response tonight because it's not on the agenda, but I just want to say, hey, if that kind of approach worked here and we can get a partial reimbursement, is there some opportunity to do something similar in Leucadia? And that's food for thought. Thank you.
Councilmember Lyons.
Yeah, thank you. I didn't jump in quickly enough. District 3 is my district, so I'm happy to just actually support what Councilmember Ehlers was saying about that we are seeking to get funding wherever we can. And our head of engineering, Jill, is really good at finding the funding when it's out there and to help us. So this is a good example of why we need infrastructure prioritization. And a couple years ago, we really acknowledged that as a community, that we have a lot of old infrastructure. In the case of this pipe, it's over 50 years old. And because of the nature of the pipe, it really doesn't have more than a 50-year lifespan. And it was put in by the county before we were a city. And so there's a lot of infrastructure that we might not see every day. It's underground. We might not even know it's there. But we need to assess it, and we need to evaluate what needs to be replaced or repaired or maintained. And so stay tuned for more talk about infrastructure this year. Our task force is about ready to wrap up and make recommendations, and also recommendations for funding. So we hope to get more of your comments and more of your input as that moves forward. This is a good example of the kind of need we have here in Encinitas. And if you were moving to approve, I'll second. Where did you?
We can do, you can make the motion, I'll second.
Okay, I'll move to approve.
And then I'll second.
I thought you had made a motion already, so.
I hadn't.
Okay. So sorry I screwed things up. question I have relates to this project. We have identified the failure of this pipe, and it's currently a CIP project, and there has been some engineering. We're at 90% drawings on the engineered drawings, and and then the question is, how much longer before environmental clearance and other things has been obtained?
For the complete CIP project to fix the problem entirely, we are at 90%, and we're moving toward the permitting environmental phase, which we expect to take about another 9 to 12 months in order to get all of the mitigation sites determined and put into the report.
Yes, so the wheels of the government sometimes turn rather slowly, right? So that's why we have these emergency powers, and in this particular case, it was necessary that we declared this emergency and made this fix in a way that addressed the significant sedimentation flows that were ending up down at the lagoon. So I too support this motion. So I think we're ready to vote.
Motion carries unanimously.
Okay, thank you. With that, we move on to item 10A, which is the opportunity to hear from applicants to serve on a variety of commissions. And the way I will be doing this is we will be bringing up the issue of the Planning Commission first, and then we'll move through each commission based upon how it is spelled out in the city clerk's table here. I'm bringing the Planning Commission first because it has a unique legal authority that none of the other commissions have, and it is the one commission where nominations from the full council are allowed. So I don't know. We now currently have 2 applicants for Cardiff with Stephen Dalton, who is the incumbent, has reapplied to serve, and Richard Brocchini, who is unable to attend. And so with that, I would ask to hear from Stephen Dalton.
Good evening, council members and Mayor Krantz. Thank you for having me here tonight, and thank you for the opportunity to have served the last 3 years on the Planning Commission. I'd like to continue with the Planning Commission. It's been a very rewarding process to participate and serve the community. As a little bit of personal background, I'm a 33-year resident of Encinitas, Cardiff specifically. I've raised 3 kids here, and I have a very genuine interest in how this community develops and changes over times, and how that supports our next generation, particularly kids and people that might be moving into the area. I currently serve as the vice chair on the Planning Commission. I think that gives me a really good insight into the process of the commission. I have attended several trainings through the city's at the city's request at the American Planning Institute, in other forums, online as well. And so Brown Act and public hearing procedures are very familiar to me at this point. While on the Planning Commission, we've dealt with some fairly thorny issues, particularly around R30 sites. Most recently, we've been working on objective design standards. And we have several variance requests and all that. My professional career is I'm a licensed architect. I've been a practicing architect for about 33 years. I run a practice in Solana Beach, about 18 people. And I have expertise in housing and urban design issues. A good number of my projects all center around housing. Those topics come up repeatedly at the Planning Commission. I feel like that professional background gives me a very strong insight into what is asked of me on the Planning Commission. I'd like to continue that. So, as I said, I've enjoyed it very much. I appreciate you taking the time to consider my application, and I'd ask for your support tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Lyons.
I apologize. I think you were going, I will wait until you speak. No, okay. I know that the other two applicants are not present to speak.
Correct. And
Is
there's
that
only
correct?
one other for this position, for the Cardiff position.
If it's not premature, I'd like to put forward Steve Dalton for the Cardiff representative on the Planning Commission, and our other only applicant for the old Encinitas district.
The
Chris.
news with Chris Cote is that he's withdrawn his application.
I'm sorry, I wasn't updated.
So we're going to
We just
ask
got-
the incumbent for the old Encinitas position to continue to serve while we re-advertise that position.
I'll modify my motion to put forward Steve Dalton as our incumbent for his second term.
I'd like to second that motion.
Okay. And did you want to speak, Councilmember Hensy?
Yeah, we'll just say that I think Commissioner Dalton has really served us well in his ability to refine projects so that the design is well suited for our city. And he's also shown a commitment to our requirements to state law that we do have to essentially approve our 30 projects to the extent that's possible. So I think, where did he go? I thank you for your service, and I'm really pleased that you've learned so much and that you're serving as vice chair and willing to continue on the Planning Commission.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Ehlers.
Yeah, and I want to support Steve for commission. I got to serve with him from when he got on the commission, and we don't always agree because you're coming much more from the professional, but I thought you always added quite a good discussion and always came prepared, which I think is paramount. The other thing is with Chair Doyle going off and you being vice chair, I think there's a time that it takes to come up to speed on some of the laws and procedures and whatnot. So I think it's paramount that we keep that continuity going. And I always enjoyed serving with you, and I don't know how many years it was, but it was quite a few. So I wholeheartedly support Steve continuing on the commission and hopefully becoming chair.
Okay, we're ready to vote.
Motion carries 5-0. And as the mayor mentioned, I will reach out to Kevin Doyle tomorrow and let him know that he will continue to serve until a replacement is appointed, and we'll open up that recruitment tomorrow.
Okay, thank you. Back to the Commission for the Arts. We have 3 seats open. We have Irene Abraham, who is completing her second term, and there is a term limit on our commissions. Kathleen Lees also has completed her 2 terms. And Katie Fox is an incumbent who has applied for reappointment. She is currently serving a partial term. So with that, there are a group of others, and if we could call them to the podium.
Absolutely. The first applicant is Richard Broccini, and he has applied for several commissions, and he is unable to attend tonight, but he did send an email to the City Council. So we'll go with George Capiello, followed by Kimberly Evers, and then Robin Fader.
Good evening, City Council. I appreciate the opportunity to speak tonight. Obviously, I'm assuming you've seen the CV I submitted and our statements. I won't rehash all that, but I'll give you a little bit more background. I've lived in Village Park area for going on 18 years. I have 2 children, one that's a freshman in college and another that's a junior at La Costa Canyon High School. And I've been busy raising them and doing stuff that most parents do. But now I've gotten this opportunity of some time and would be honored, and it would be a privilege to participate in the Arts Commission. I think I do have a unique background and would be a good addition to the commission in that I am an attorney. I've been a trial attorney for 18 years. I've been an advocate because of that. And And part of that job requires being a good listener and absorbing information, synthesizing it, and coming up with solutions, working with others. But I also have a background of being a musician since I'm 16. I grew up with a father who's an artist, a graphic designer. I worked in an advertising agency when I was in high school for my dad. But more important, I've had this experience in this beautiful community we live in of meeting so many great artists. And I think it's a really awesome thing that our city actually has a commission for the arts and wants to create opportunities for artists in the community. And I do think it's unfortunate that there are not as much opportunities, and a lot of people have to go outside of Encinitas to express their art. And in particular, through my kids and neighbors and friends that love music and art, I don't know that they even are aware of the opportunities the city is putting out there for them to perform or express their art, or to even be an audience member and to go see other people's arts. So to be a part of a group of people to come up with opportunities for people in this community would be an awesome endeavor that I'd be very excited to be a part of. Just check my notes, make sure it's nothing else. Oh, yeah, last thing. I do understand that all the other candidates are really qualified, and whatever the council chooses to be on this commission seem to be awesome, and I'm just happy to be part of this community. Thanks.
Thank you. Sure, ask. Okay.
Kimberly Evers? Is Kimberly here? How about Robin Fader? Robin, and Robin will be followed by Katie Fox, and then Carla Reamer.
Hello, good evening. Thanks for having me here. Just wanted to go through a little bit of my background, maybe some things that were missing from my resume that I submitted as part of my application. So I was actually just recently hired at the Solana Center for Environmental Innovation. I am their new marketing and development manager. So I'm happy to be working here in the community. So just wanted to mention that. Just want to give you a little bit of background about my educational experience. When I started my college career, I was going through my studio art degree, and I had a focus in fine art photography. And I'm actually currently completing my bachelor's degree, at San Diego State University. I'm majoring in multimedia. And I'm currently enrolled in several classes, including digital photography and contemporary Latin American art history. And it's been an amazing experience. Some of my relevant work experience includes being a gallery director at the Shasta County Arts Council in Northern California. I started out as an intern there and was promoted to gallery director, so I did all kinds of things in that position, including painting the gallery, accepting artworks, reviewing artworks, putting together art receptions, all kinds of things. And then after I completed my time there, I also served as a board member of the Shasta County Arts Council and helped with some fundraising efforts. Much later in my career, I was actually a nonprofit founder of the Reading Fashion Alliance, which is a 501c3 nonprofit in Northern California. And it was an organization that was supporting fashion design education and sewing instruction. And part of my position there as the executive director was to put together a fashion show event that was really kind of turned into a cultural event for the city, and it featured local fashion designers and handmade clothing. And I've had a lot of experience in creative direction for fashion photography and editorial shoots. So that's a lot of project management and working with teams of people to focus on putting together, a concept for photo editorials. I'm also a small business owner, and I do own my own business in marketing. So I appreciate your consideration.
Thank you.
Katie Fox. And Katie will be followed by Carla Reamer.
I need these now. Let's see. So I maybe don't need that. Good evening, council, mayor, public. And my name is Katie Fox. I am currently the vice chair for the Commission of the Arts. I was appointed in 2020, and yeah, it's been awesome. I've had the chance in the last year and a half to volunteer in so many different capacities. To name just a few, I've sat on the visual arts selection panel and the art donation ad hoc group. I've collected surveys for the American for the Arts to help compile the data on the local, state, and national creative economy. I have researched art programming and new models for artisan residencies in lots of different capacities in Encinitas, and extensively shared the new RFPs with potential instructors, artists, and directors for Pacific View Art Center and other venues in the city. So I'm most passionate about my time in two areas. One is really like as an ambassador. I think there is a gap to bridge to let the community know in even more ways about all the amazing things that the city does in the arts. And I've been really grateful for the role that all the commissioners are afforded to be able to connect with the community and grow that greater cultural network here. The other thing is understanding the process. As was mentioned, it does take a while to kind of onboard as a commissioner. So it's been very cool, actually, to learn the process and understand the tools available so that the body can actually come together and be a really valuable resource to council, to staff, also to the public. So yeah, in doing so, I've just been kind of awed with all the people I've met, various kind of artists, program directors, educators, residents, just other moms, and mainly to listen. So unlike all the other current commissioners and I believe the applicants, I've lived here just over 2 years. My husband grew up here, and we moved with our small son. And I just wanted to dive in and volunteer and understand the landscape here of the arts and culture as quickly as I could. So yeah, it's been awesome just to touch base with so many people, understand the time and energy that has been spent already on all the programs that we offer, as well as get a rich understanding of the history of all those still in development, specifically Pacific View and others. And also a lot of new people in the community who are really excited about sharing their talents with the city. There's filmmakers, photographers. So yeah, to wrap up, this next commission, I think, has a chance to kind of mature and grow up like the city is doing, because all of us as a body could be together for 3 years. And I really hope to be part of that and to build upon the steep learning curve that I've had. So.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Hello, everyone. I am going to need these. My name is Carla Romer. A little bit about me. I studied art and design at Parsons School of Design in New York City and Paris. And I worked for product and digital media design companies in Europe before we settled in Encinitas in 2005. While our children were attending Cardiff Elementary School, I was lucky enough to have the opportunity to create the art program there. So I created the art curriculum for one class a month for 10 months, grades K through 6, so writing the lesson plans, organizing the materials, and training the parent docents, which was an amazing experience. I've been with Lux Art Institute, which is now ICA, since 2007. Initially, I was a volunteer leading school field trips. My goals for those was not to do all the talking myself, but to encourage the kids to kind of share what they were understanding, which turned out to be quite easy because they would always amaze me with their sort of insight and how perceptive and intuitively they picked up on what the artists were trying to do, much better than adults, actually. From there, I transitioned into developing community and educational programs with the Education Department, with the goal to enhance viewers' experience, but more importantly, really break down the barriers and foster a deeper connection between individuals and art. I've also taught contemporary art at UCSD Extension, and I currently host a monthly art club in La Jolla. So the art club it's a little bit of a different format. It's not a class or lecture. It's a get-together where a community of people gets to know each other and art and ourselves by talking about our personal reactions to works of art. And it's a chance to be curious and to learn and to have meaningful conversations and to gain new perspectives. So I strongly believe that art in all forms can be personally meaningful and enrich everyone's lives. And what has given me the most joy in all of these things that I've done is really helping people to realize that. So I would love the opportunity to expand that and work towards making art an integral part of our community's fabric and build upon what's already been done and you guys are already doing. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
And that concludes applicants for the Commission for the Arts.
So, having done this more than a decade, it is just always amazing and remarkable to me to see the amazing talent that steps forward to serve on our commissions. And believe me, I am very appreciative for all of you and your willingness to serve. I am going to move the nominations of Robin Fator, Kathy Fox, and Carla Rimmer.
I'll second that. That was my slate as well. And I just want to thank Katie Fox in particular. You actually act so much as an ambassador. I learned things about our city's arts program through your social media, which is excellent. And so thank you for all that you do above and beyond just attending meetings and also just letting the community know how much we do have going on. And as the mayor said, this is always a painful process, but I do hope that those who are first-time applicants who weren't selected do apply again, because you'll get appointed.
And I would add in that regard, George, we are going to have some commissions that don't have enough applicants. So for those who aren't picked for their first choice, there will be the opportunity to serve on these other commissions when we'll deal with that at the end of this agenda item. So, Councilmember Lyons.
I wanted to take this opportunity to thank both Kathleen Lees and Irene Abraham for serving for 2 terms. It's quite a long haul for 2 terms, but I have the impression that it was a fun journey for both of you, so thank you very much.
Thank you. Councilmember Ehlers.
So, yeah, I support the motion. looking at this, I'm thinking this is the phase of Pacific View. So I'm really looking for people that have lots to add, and quite frankly, all four candidates have lots to add. I thought Katie Fox's the incumbency, the fact you're vice chair now, you can just tell the amount of energy you're putting into it. You know, keep going, love it. Robin and Carla, I really appreciate George's background in performance art, guitar, and I hope you will reapply because I think there will be a slot, but right now you're up against some, wow, pretty awesome talent up here. So it was all four. There were no bad choices, but I think the experience level and the depth of Robin and Carla, I think, carried the day for me too. So please reapply, George. You know, we'll find you stuff to do.
Ready to start voting?
Ready to vote.
Motion carries unanimously.
Okay, thank you. And the Environmental Commission is next. The term is 3 years. There are 5 scheduled vacancies, and Christian Adams is termed out. Katie Kramer is in her first term and is reapplying. William Morrison resigned in October, so his seat has been vacant pending this meeting. Mark O'Connor is serving a partial term, so he's now applying for a full term. And Robert Switzler is also serving a partial term, applying for a full term. So if the clerk could please call the applicants.
Absolutely. Richard Brochini, as I mentioned, is unable to attend. He had a work conflict. So let's see, John Bruner. And then John will be followed by Katie Kramer. And then Tosh Dutt.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I go by JP. Thanks for the opportunity to be considered tonight for the position on the Environmental Commission. I live in Leucadia. I'm extremely proud to be a part of their small but mighty community that has done so much to address the climate crisis. Over the last 7 years, I've been a volunteer with the Surfrider Foundation, San Diego County chapter, where I've served as the program lead on the Climate Committee for 5 years, and I now sit on our executive committee for the chapter. In this time, I've been very inspired what a meaningful difference everyday people can make in their communities when they're engaged and passionate. It's given me great purpose to have stood before you all here on issues such as offshore oil drilling, community choice energy, and building electrification, and always felt that my voice had been heard and the views of my organization that I represented had been heard and acted on. In this experience, I've also learned a lot about navigating local politics and how the system works and ultimately how ordinances are passed. Professionally, I've spent the last 8 years working in corporate sustainability, where I'm now a sustainability manager at a consulting firm. I focus on assisting businesses with greenhouse gas inventories, life cycle analysis, and navigating ESG-related frameworks. Similar to what Ascent has done for the city's GHG inventory and reduction strategy is what I do for businesses. I believe these two experiences, both as a volunteer and my professional career, make me a good candidate for the Environmental Commission. I understand the reporting and math behind carbon calculations and have insight into how local organizations navigate the political landscape to gain support and ultimately get ordinances passed. If appointed, my goal would be to play a role in continuing the city's path of mobility that's increasingly less reliant on cars and designing out fossil fuels from our built environment via electrification, 2 issues I'm really passionate about. I was raised to have a lot of respect and appreciation for the natural world, which is why I've dedicated a lot of my time to climate change. And when encouraged to apply, it was clear to me that this was an excellent opportunity to make a bigger impact in my community. Although we aren't a large city, I really believe this community has a lot of ambition to solve incredibly big problems and that the impacts extend well beyond our city limits, something I'm very happy with. I appreciate your consideration. I'd be really honored to serve on the commission. Thank you.
Thank you.
Katie Kramer?
Good evening, Mayor Krantz and City Council. Thanks for considering my application to be reappointed to the Environmental Commission. I am a professor of marine conservation ecology at Arizona State University, but I am lucky enough to be based out of Encinitas and travel to Tempe from time to time rather than living in Tempe. I've lived in Encinitas for 10 years now. And I'm also currently the vice chair of the Environmental Commission. So my diverse professional experiences working as a marine scientist in the federal government, in the U.S. Senate at one point, at non-governmental conservation organizations, and in academia have provided me with expertise in environmental policy, management, and conservation. So to continue the exciting progress our city's made towards advancing the preservation and sustainable use of our local environment, I would be honored and excited to be appointed to a second term at the commission. I recognize it's a privilege to serve on the city commission, and I've taken this responsibility to heart. In my first term as an environmental commissioner since 2021, I've helped to advocate for and develop ordinances focused on the reduction of plastic pollution in our local environment, including the ban on helium balloons and the ban on smoking in public spaces. I also contributed to the development of the native plant policy and the green building ordinance, and I continue to stay up to date on the implementation and reporting of the integrated pest management policy. I'm currently working with my fellow commissioners and local civic organizations on actions to further reduce the use of single-use plastics via two major actions. One, improving our city's existing ordinances on reducing single-use plastic food service items by excluding all non-compostable items. And two, by conducting outreach to local businesses and advocacy groups to encourage compliance with existing ordinances on single-use plastic bags. We have much work to do there. In each of these endeavors, I've created productive and collegial working relationships with fellow environmental commissioners, the city's excellent sustainability manager, Crystal Nahara, environmental management staff from our city and from neighboring cities, and engaged groups of citizens. And I've also worked with leaders from local organizations such as EDCO and the Self-Realization Fellowship to further some of our environmental goals. So these efforts have provided valuable understanding of the city's governance structure, the concerns of local citizens, and the interplay between local, county, and state regulatory frameworks. If I'm appointed to a second term on the commission, I'd utilize this opportunity to continue the progress made on further reducing single-use plastics, providing recommendations on the Climate Action Plan update, and engaging with civic and business groups to encourage compliance of our existing environmental ordinances. In each of these endeavors, I'll draw from my training as a scientist to remain objective in analyzing the societal and environmental outcomes of these actions. And thank you so much for your consideration tonight.
Thank you.
Next applicant is Tosh Dutt. Is Tosh here? Okay, how about Mark O'Connor? And then Mark will be followed by John Wick. Robert Switzler is unable to attend tonight. He did have a conflict with work, but he did send an email to the council expressing his interest in being reappointed.
Thank you, Mayor Krantz and council members. I'm Mark O'Connor. I'm born and raised in Encinitas. My environmental activism started about 6 years ago with personal beach cleanups, and I wanted to help figure out how to stop what I was finding. And I joined Surfrider San Diego County. I'm a Rise Above Plastic lead and help with single-use plastic ordinances in Encinitas, Carlsbad, Oceanside, Vista, San Marcos, Solana Beach, and Del Mar. I'm currently assisting with the city of Coronado, La Mesa, and Chula Vista. 2 years ago, there was a vacated seat on the Environmental Commission, and I applied, and then Mayor Blakespear appointed me, and I was approved on consent, so this is my first time talking to council, asking to seat me. In the 2 years I've been on the EC, I've assisted with the public smoking ordinance, along with Commissioner Kramer and Sustainability Manager Najera. Next, we look to improve on the plastic Katie and I hope to improve the plastic film bag situation in the state, and ran into some hurdles and decided to pause it. But right now, the good news is Senator Blakespeare's got a similar ordinance moving through the state, and if it passes, it'll be great. If it doesn't, we'll readdress bags at a later date. Commissioner Kramer and I have also looked into the Encinitas single-use plastic ordinance that was passed years ago. The products have changed, and there's a lot of greenwashing. But Carlsbad recently enacted an ordinance that better defines compostable. Products have to be able to be composted by their waste hauler, Republic, to be approved. We have had a meeting with EDCO, and they are supportive of a similar ordinance in Encinitas with products that can be digested. It would mean all products would go into the green bin. This is a couple months away for your review. I like to network and collaborate. The Encinitas Chamber of Commerce asked for a liaison from the EC, and I offered to join their sustainability committee. I'm helping with the new city-sponsored Green Business Network and the rollout. I've even had Surfrider join me as a chamber member. I work with our local Rotaries and have been asked to join clubs, but even my retired bandwidth has limits. I did join a regional advisory group, and I'm working on a plastic challenge to replace a plastic product with an alternative each week by one of their members. I'm on the EcoFest Planning Committee. I attend sponsored city events that I table with the Sustainability Department. I can be found the third Saturday of each month at the Surfrider Beach Cleanup at Moonlight Beach. As you can see, I have many irons in the fire. I want to help make Encinitas a healthier place for residents and visitors. Mayor, I ask that you appoint me to the Environmental Commission and Council. If the mayor does so, I ask you to confirm me. Thank you.
John Wick?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm a new face here, so a little bit about me. My name is John Wick, and I'm applying to both the Environmental and the Mobility Commissions tonight. I moved to San Diego for college at UCSD, and I've called North County my home for the last 21 years. Most recently, my wife, 2 kids, nearly 3 years ago, we established some more permanent roots in Cardiff. We feel, super fortunate every day that we're part of this awesome community. And like most, I'm an ocean, clean air, and cycling enthusiast. So as a regular reader of the Coast News and the Encinitas Advocate, I have become painfully aware of the challenges the city faces with rapid growth and changing technologies. So for example, e-bikes. I want to contribute to creative solutions to all the challenges that you guys are facing, that we're facing in the mobility and environmental space. So why am I pursuing a commission seat? I'm an Eagle Scout, and my father is a lifelong city and international volunteer. So I regularly participated in community service and saw the value for a long time, and what it gives back. So I love the city, and I want to do my part to maintain the sustainable growth in Encinitas. So what do I bring to the table? A lot of very qualified applicants in specific areas, but I'm a mechanical engineer by trade. I'm a licensed professional engineer in California. The last 18 years I've been super lucky to be a part of technology development. The last 7 years working for kind of an obscure Dutch company, ASML, where we're pushing the limits and designing machines that make the latest and greatest computer chips. So what does this have to do with what I bring to the table? I lead a research team made up of all sorts of people, plasma physicists, professors from around the world, supply chain engineers. Each of these machines consist of 100,000 individual parts that we assemble and build, and we still don't really know how the machine works, but it works. It took about 3 decades to develop. But leading this team, it requires, I've honed my skills in stakeholder management, in implementing solutions to complex problems, which I think is a key part of community development. So a lot of great applicants. I hope to be considered for one of the commissions. And as you said, Mayor Tony Kranz, that there's some other options. So if not selected, I'd love to connect with anybody and help any way I can. So thank you guys for hearing me out.
Thank you.
And that
Okay.
concludes the applicants for Environmental Commission.
Thank you. An embarrassment of riches again. Holy cow, all that you guys bring to this opportunity. It's five vacancies, so I would nominate John Brunner, Katie Kramer, Mark O'Connor, Robert Switzler, and John Wick. Councilmember Lyons.
I'll gladly second that motion. And I just want to make a point about the Environmental Commission. They're near and dear to my heart because I served for 2 terms on the Environmental Commission before I joined the City Council. And not only the Environmental Commission, but all of our commissions are the foundation of the passion and the energy in our city, and it's on their shoulders that we stand. So I just want to thank all of those who have served, in this case also Christian Adams for him serving 2 terms, and those that are coming back to serve a 2nd term.
Deputy Mayor Blackwell.
Yes, thank you. I just wanted to also call out the qualifications. I was really impressed by the activism and experience of all of the candidates, so I appreciate that. I too support what the mayor is recommending, and I want to thank Mark and Katie for everything you're doing to help push things forward. I know that's not easy, so appreciate what you've done in your 1st term.
Okay. Councilmember Hensy.
Thank you. I like making it through agenda items quickly, but I can't let this one go by without saying that you are such heavy hitters. You bring so much to our community, and you really do such heavy lifting for us on all of the vetting of our environmental ordinances that could be extremely controversial, but by the time they come to us, you've worked out a lot of the issues. So thank you for your attention to detail, your community liaising, and just for such a strong commitment to actually seeing the effects of your work here in our city. Thank you.
Councilmember Ehlers.
Just real quick, again, great candidates. I'll support this. I would have liked to have seen Tosh Dutt on there, only because he understands electrification, electric vehicles, and I think that is a huge 53% of our carbon is coming from transportation. And so he would have been a good one. I would, again, encourage him to reapply, because I think there's room for all very qualified candidates, and it would just be good to get somebody with that kind of knowledge on there. But I think a BSME at Cymer might be just as good, or could learn it, so great. So I'm supporting it.
Thank you. So we're ready to vote.
Motion carries unanimously. Takes us to the Mobility and Traffic Safety Commission. And we do have 2 appointments to be made, one for Cardiff representative, one for Olivenhain. I will note that for Cardiff, John Wilk will know, since he was just appointed, is no longer eligible for this, for that position. And then for Olivenhain, both Ron Medak and Harold Standiford did withdraw their applications. So there is 1 applicant for Olivenhain.
So with Patricia being an incumbent, I favor the training that we put in to all of our commissioners when they're reapplying as incumbents. So I wouldn't need to hear from you again. And we only have 1, Chris Duncan, who has applied for Olivenhain. So I am prepared to nominate. Either one of you can speak if you choose to.
So,
Chris,
Patricia?
come on up. I'm assuming you're Chris because you don't look like a Patricia.
Hi, Mayor, Council, thank you for your service as well, everyone here, all the volunteers. It's great to see the community come out. So just real quick about myself then. So if I end up getting appointed, my wife and I have been in Encinitas residence for 24 years, raised 3 boys here. They're adults now. They've gone off. I myself, my career has been in biotech, pharmaceutical, marketing, commercial operations. I now consult in that field. And then I also am the proud owner of a little beer bar in New Encinitas called the Brewers Tap Room. We opened that up 6.5 years ago. Very proud of it. We opened it to kind of provide a place when I was raising my boys and Indian guides and all that stuff for the dads to kind of go hang out that we didn't have unless we come all the way down to downtown Encinitas. So it's turned out to what I hoped it would be. It's become a great little community spot there in New Encinitas, so I'm very proud of that. And as part of that, I feel myself getting more involved in the town and what's going on, and specifically, most recently, the El Camino Real special project. I've invited some of the staff, one time did come in and set up in the tap room with the boards and just talking about what it was, because I don't feel too many people even really know what's going on with that. And so the more I could do myself with my venue to help introduce that to more people, to let them know what's going on, if they want to get involved. So kind of felt that was something I could bring to the table, and you know, I've offered to do it again, I think at one of the last meetings, if it's something that would be of value. So as for me and why I think I'd be, excuse me, good for this role, safety, mobility, you know, it's a specific committee, I think, for me at least at this point, that I would serve well on. For the last 24 years being here in Encinitas, I've been a marathon runner and an avid bike cyclist, and obviously I drive a car as well. But I've probably tracked on foot or on wheel almost every road and street in Encinitas, so I know them well, know the issues. We didn't have electric bikes when we had our boys around town, but I see a lot of that now, and at the end of the day, I love it all. I love seeing people outside, period, right? And whether it's walking on the streets, having the ability to walk safely on the street, be on a bicycle, biking to school, to work, whatever the case is. So I see that's a huge part of the community, gets people together, gets them out, slows traffic down when you see people out like that, which is a good thing. So I think there's a lot of ways it can be done smartly. I think I can bring something to the table for that. If someone were to say, you know, who knows me, who I am, type of decision maker, I don't know if it's my corporate life or whatever, but just common sense. You know, I'm methodical. I don't make rash decisions. I gather as much insight as I can before making a decision, listen to others. So for that reason, I think I'm pretty level head. So
Thank you.
thank you for the time. Appreciate it.
Patricia?
Good evening, Mayor Krantz and City Council. I just wanted to take this opportunity to introduce myself a little bit more.
Welcome.
Live in Cardiff, have been there since 1996, raised our 2 kids here. Now they're young adults, thank God. I'm currently on the Mobility and Traffic Safety Commission, and it's really been an honor to be on the commission and to serve with the commissioners. You know, we've been having a lot of discussions, and a lot of our meetings are focused on, you know, reducing the speed limit in certain areas and really promoting safety. And I really am very passionate about being part of that whole change. Just a little bit more about me. I'm a licensed landscape architect, a certified planner, and a LEED accredited professional. I've been designing public open spaces since, well, you know, over 35 years. And one of my current larger projects is Terminal 1 at the airport. So, you know, I've been working with the Airport Authority, and it's all about safety. So I think the Mobility and Traffic Safety Commission is a good fit for me. So thank you.
Thank you for volunteering. Councilmember Ehlers.
Yeah, I had 2 questions. One, and I support both, but the partial term, I have a question for the clerk. If she gets appointed tonight, she would have a full term 1 and then potentially a full term 2. So
Correct.
partial plus full 1. Okay, great. Second thing is, and maybe I do need the applicant, I believe you're working at Rick Engineering, and does Rick Engineering ever do any of our traffic engineering? And would that be a conflict? Right. So I don't know, I guess we don't have staff here. Has it been a conflict yet? Apparently not.
No, it hasn't been a
Okay.
conflict. But, I mean, if there was anything that would come up, I would just recuse myself.
Okay,
So-
cool. Thank you.
I believe we have Rick working on the specific plan for El Camino Real. So,
And I'll second your motion.
okay. We're ready to vote.
Motion carries unanimously. That takes us to
Okay.
Parks and Recreation.
There we go.
Parks and Rec Commission, 3 scheduled vacancies with new appointment terms ending March 2027, and 2 unscheduled vacancies with terms ending March 2026. Brad Hansen is finishing up term 1. Ross Ritter is finishing up term 1. They have both applied for reappointment. Steve Winters is not reapplying. There's a vacancy where Dan O'Halloran resigned on December 19th, and there's a vacancy where Keith Meldahl resigned in December of 2023. So we have 4 applicants, and we're ready to hear from them.
Yes. Christopher Comarat is unable to attend the meeting tonight. He had a conflict. Kimberly Evers, is Kimberly here? She was not here earlier. And then both Brad Hansen and Ross Ritter both had conflicts, were unable to attend tonight, but did express interest in being reappointed.
So we have 5 seats open. I would nominate Christopher Comarat, Kimberly Evers, Brad Hansen, Ross Ritter, and George Capiello, if he's willing to serve on the Parks and Recreation Commission. Okay.
No pressure.
I'll second that.
Okay, Councilmember Ehlers.
Yeah, I believe there's 3 3-year appointments and 2 2-year, so we ought to include in the motion an amendment that defines that for the clerk.
I was just going to ask that.
So there are the 2 term that are working, they'd be going into their 2nd term. So there would be one with a new term that would go until 2027, and then there are 2 that are vacant that would end in 2026, and I would make that Kimberly Evers and George.
Perfect.
See, I keep telling people out there, if you keep coming, we're going to get you on something, so you better watch it. You keep coming to these meetings.
And also, if you stick around through the end of the meeting, George.
Councilmember Ehlers? Motion carries unanimously. Okay, that now takes us to the planning, we finished the planning commission. Takes us to the senior commission. And we have 1 applicant, Mona Angel. Maureen Farley withdrew her application, and there are 3 vacancies on that commission.
And we have Mona is here. Would you like to speak? Come on up.
I have many more than 3, but unfortunately, they're not here tonight. Good evening, Mayor Kranz, City Council. For those of you that don't know me, I'd like to take a few minutes to introduce myself. First of all, it's been my true honor to be one of the members of the team on Senior Citizen Council. Mayor Blakespeare appointed me back in 2021, and I have been passionate about the work I do with seniors. A little bit of a background: prior to moving to Cardiff by the Sea in 2017, I did work as the manager of a small senior citizen community center in Poway, California, where I developed, implemented all programming for over 2 years. Once I moved here, I jumped right in, and I was honored to have the opportunity to serve here. I was the vice chair for a while, and I experienced the opportunity to gather information, interact with senior citizens, both at lunches, at dances, out in the community. And what I've learned is that the seniors in our community are vibrant, they want to be engaged, they want to be social, and they want to be heard. I've done that for the last 3 years, and I'm asking to continue that because I think that I have the skill set to be able to continue. A little bit more of my background: I'm a social worker, I'm a 21-year Air Force veteran, and I've also been trained as a hospice chaplain. So I have interacted many, many times over the years with senior citizens. I am a senior citizen, and I really have a very soft spot in my heart. So I ask that this commission consider me this evening, and I would love to continue. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate all the work that you have done and your professional work as well. Your passion serving seniors is very much appreciated, so thank you for that. And with that, I would nominate Mona Angel for this commission.
I'll second that nomination.
All right, so Madam Clerk, we're going to advertise for 2 vacancies for that. And that moves us to the Urban Forest Advisory Committee. Oh, I think that's somebody, yep, it's all up there, okay. There it goes, all right. So that moves us to the Urban Forest Advisory Committee. And we have 3 scheduled vacancies. 1, Brian Bishop, local arborist who is not reapplied for a position. Mark Jenny, and he's finishing up term 1. And Carol Parker is finishing up term 1, but she's also an environmental commissioner, so she is moving off of this commission. So we have Richard Brocchini, who is not here, and we have Mark Jenny, who is here. Mark? No Mark. No Mark. So with both of them not here to defend themselves, I am nominating Richard Brocchini and Mark Jenny for the Urban Forest Advisory Committee. Councilmember Ehlers.
Oh, sorry. Let me withdraw that. I second it.
Okay, very good.
System is. There we go. And that motion carries unanimously, and that leaves 1 vacancy on Urban Forest Advisory Committee. So we will be re-advertising for the Old Encinitas Planning Commission representative, 2 vacancies on the Senior Citizen Commission, and then 1 vacancy on the Urban Forest Advisory Committee.
Okay, thank you very much. We are done with the action items. Moving on to item 11, it's informational item. There are none. No council member initiated items. So on to item number 13, city council member reports pursuant to AB 1234.
Nothing to report. Oh, sorry.
So I'll just report, as far as the Sandag Sustainable Communities Working Group, we had a meeting last week, which I attended, and I am the chair of that group. Sandag has generally in our agenda presented working documents that they're working on. And one of the documents was the draft projected forecast for growth across the region. And I only want to bring that up because I think it's of interest, and others who serve on Sandag boards may be aware of it as well. And the only note to follow up with on that is that their prediction is that the population across our region will be decreasing over the next 15 to 20 years. So I imagine we'll get more information on that as that report goes to a more final stage. Secondly, I want to report that I was asked by the chair of Sandag to participate on the LoSAN and Metrolink board, and I've accepted that appointment. So I'll be reporting on that in the future on what's happening on that board. Thank you.
I'll give a quick update just because it's been such a short meeting from NCTD side. So in our last meeting, we moved to explore a new set of routes. So this is a set of new bus routes that would meet up with our Coaster Sorrento Valley stop. MTS is no longer going to be servicing the biotech industry and the other private areas that are along their traditional route. So NCTD is going to attempt to step in and to fulfill that role. So that's exciting, and it's also, a big lift for us. So we're confident that we can do it, but it's going to take some time to refine those routes and do the public outreach necessary to get the kind of ridership to sustain those routes. We also launched our climate action plan with NCTD, so that's very exciting, and I think we're the first agency in the region to do so, first transit agency. And then the last update from NCTD that's pretty exciting is that we'll be launching 3 different microtransit pilot programs. Unfortunately, Encinitas was analyzed, but we didn't qualify as one of the locations due to low scores on the Disadvantaged Community Equity Index. So the locations that will be studied are within Vista, Palma Valley, and unincorporated County of San Diego, and San Marcos. And what is positive for Encinitas about this is that NCTD, in launching this pilot, will be able to wrap their heads around the cost of such a program. And then if Encinitas should like to participate, they could offer that service to us. And of course, we'd have to absorb the costs of that. But really encouraging, and it would be different from our traditional transit in that it's point to point. So you'd actually be able to request a little van to come pick you up where you are and take you right where you want to go. So, and then if you have a group of people, say you have 5 people, the cost per ride goes down with each extra person that you have. So it's really innovative, and we're hoping that it works and that it can be extended throughout the county.
Yes, I just will say that yesterday, Councilmember Hinsey and I attended the San Elijo JPA, and Councilmember Hinsey is the vice chair. But just one thing to report there is that they have, in our previous meeting, they asked us for an alternate among the council to, because Solana Beach does have an alternate and we do not. So just raise that. I don't think we have to determine it tonight, but that would be something where we do need to supply that alternate.
Did they specify if it needs to be a council member, or could it also be a staff person?
Good question. I don't know.
Okay.
What's it for?
Great. I attended a Sandag Transportation Committee meeting. We got briefings on a couple things. One has to do with the services that are provided to those who are unable to use the fixed route services. It is, NCTD's service is called, it's not Flex, it's Lyft. And MTS has a similar service, but there are a number of other providers of that service. And one services the whole region FACT and facilitate access to coordinated transportation. And they had a grant application that was scored very high, but just under the winner line, and so they didn't get any grant in their last effort. So this item also included some additional funding to provide to them, which created a little bit of controversy because other providers didn't appreciate the special consideration for FACT. So it was a pretty wild meeting, and it took 3 motions to finally get to the point where we had a decision, but FACT did get plussed up with some money. So it's a very important service. I've served on the FACT board, and they are the only organization that serves countywide. The way transit agencies work, it's a little goofy, and NCTD serves to their border, and then they have to hand off to the MTS service. So it's a 2-seat ride for people. So it's a kind of goofy system. But meanwhile, it is what it is. So we took that action, and it may be ratified by the board on Friday.
May I ask a question about that? So who ended up having to give up funding for FACT to get the award?
Well, it kind of just came out of the big grant pot.
So nobody got less? NCTD didn't get less, and
No, the agencies did not. I wasn't willing to take anything with
thank
from
you,
them.
thank you.
And it wouldn't have been a whole lot of money, but I didn't like doing it without without the agencies having an opportunity to say, how that would impact them. So it was pretty wild. And congratulations, Joy, on Losan. You're also serving on MetroLink board, or?
Yes, it's the Losan and MetroLink.
I was a little confused about it too.
I think it's just Losan.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
MetroLink runs on the Losan corridor lines.
Thank you then for that clarification. I know I was trying to explain it a bit earlier, and I said, and I was saying I haven't had my debriefing on it yet. So.
Yeah, maybe I would be curious to hear an update about it, because usually the alternate on Losan does serve on MetroLink. And so that's what I was doing for a year during COVID, was attending virtually the MetroLink meetings. I was under the impression we appointed Dave Drucker as the alternate, but they asked Joy, so some clarity would be helpful.
All right. We need to get that
Yeah.
clarity. I certainly will.
And it's an important board, and there, as you may know, our senator is working to, she's introduced a bill to essentially have the state take over the Losan corridor, which would be kind of weird to me, and we'll have to bring that as an agenda item to consider that. It touches on that issue of local control, although it's not the city of Encinitas, it's more NCTD, but some very important things to consider there. So that's all I have. City manager reports.
Good evening, Mayor, members of council. Just wanted to give an update on Beacons Beach access. We are still monitoring the movement, and there is still movement on the bluff, as well as we have had a lot of inclement weather. Luckily, this storm wasn't too bad. We've got another one coming in Monday. So along with the movement, and again with the inclement weather, we're still going to monitor that, but the part of the walkway and the trail access will remain closed at this time.
Okay, thanks for the update. City attorney reports.
No report this evening, Mr. Mayor.
City clerk reports.
And then just another update regarding the March 5th presidential primary, which is coming up. Right now, the ballot drop boxes are available, so voters should have received their sample ballots in the mail. You have 3 options. You can mail it back. You can drop it in any drop-off location around the county. For Encinitas, those ballot drop boxes are located at the Cardiff Library, Encinitas Library, and Encinitas Chamber of Commerce. And then there are also, it is also available for people to vote in person if they would like. There are some vote centers that are open right now, the Registrar of Voters, but beginning March 2nd through March 5th, the vote centers in Encinitas will be Ada Harris, the Community Center, Parkdale Lane, and Paul Ecke Central. For additional information, or if you have not received your ballot, people should contact the San Diego County Register of Voters, and their website is sdvote.com.
Okay, thank you very much. That concludes our business. This meeting is adjourned.